Yo. So we're blessed. We're blessed to be here today, man, but I believe that we're not done. So tonight we're going to invite you not just to listen, but to learn. Tonight's about saving lives, man, and that's important. It's about ending second-degree sentences here in PA. It's about making sure freedom isn't the exception, but the standard. I'd like to ask these two men on stage what it took to ultimately get themselves home, and that's important. And I first want you to go ahead and introduce yourself, Jay. Let us know exactly how you got out, how much time you served, and exactly why you're on the stage tonight.
I appreciate this, Rob. Thank you for this opportunity to come out. I was convicted in 1988, second-degree murder. I was sentenced to mandatory life, which is really a death sentence. I was commuted on February 12, 2021. I've been on now 4.5 years. This February will make 5 years. When Rob reached out to me, it wasn't even a no-brainer. I didn't have to think about it because this is something that affects over almost 1,200 people that's serving a life sentence. And it's important to note that in my case, in particular, I didn't kill anybody. I was with someone who killed somebody. And the way that the laws are structured in Pennsylvania, all that the jury needs in my particular case, they didn't need to prove intent. Intent was not even an issue. For them, their sole duty that day was to prove or to come to an agreement that I was there and I had the intent to commit an underlying felony. And I was sentenced to life 6 days before my 21st birthday. So that was the birthday present from the city. To say that I had no redeemable qualities and therefore I should never see the light of day again.
Thank you for that. I want to ask you the same question, y'all, because I think that while we're here today, I think while our fight might be similar, I think we can all agree we took different paths to get here, but ultimately we're here through the grace of God. So I'm asking you the same question.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Rob. My journey is a bit different, but similar. I was arrested for felony murder. I was charged as a conspirator. But my alleged co-defendant was a juvenile. A juvenile who could not read, who could not write, with the exception of his own name. And he was coerced. He was coerced into saying that I was with him. And the difference is that, I was innocent, but I still received a life without parole sentence, death by incarceration. And early on, I knew that I had to hit the law library and things like that. But there was a journey. It was a journey, and I'm gonna let Rob continue on with the questions. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
I appreciate that. Also, before we go any further, because I think before we move forward, it's important to ground this conversation. So for maybe 30, maybe 45 seconds, I want to go ahead and read the actual title. I want to read everything that you need to understand by the law before we break it down so you can understand it. And that's why felony murder is not, people have no clear understanding of what it entails to bind somebody to a life sentence through felony murder, and we're going to go ahead and get to that. But before we do, these two brothers, what makes it so surreal tonight is that we were part of a second-degree committee on the inside. So before we even had the opportunity to be sitting here today, it was important that we fought for our own life, but we weren't fighting for just ourselves. We were fighting for everybody that was similarly situated, that was fighting to get back to their families and loved ones. So it's super surreal to see these brothers here tonight. It's super surreal that G was able to make it out through lottery process, because that's what the commutation is. He's like super. I actually want to rub and get some luck, because I'm saying like it's crazy to even go ahead and for that to be a possibility, because the commutation process is so stringent. And for this brother here, you know, to welcome me when I came down Graterford. I remember when Lou, may he rest in peace, man, Marco Maldonado, when I came down, and he told me from the rip, like, Rob, you working in the law library. I was like, yo, I just got my trade cert, I just got my electronics, like I'm hands-on. No, you work in the law library. And that was the best decision that could ever happen to me, because it kept me around brothers like this. It kept me in an area where freedom was always talked about. You know, it was never a day that even if we had our coffee without a newspaper, if it was a new case that just came down or something, you remember you was talking about your case the other day, I thought about something when I was in the cell, and that's what it takes, and that's why we're doing what we do today. We want to make sure that we go ahead and do the same thing, you know, we want to make sure that people that are watching, the families, they know that there's people out here fighting for them. So I'm going to go straight into this statutory reading, Title 18, 2502, and that will be B. And that's murder of second degree. A criminal homicide constitutes murder of the second degree when it is committed while the defendant was engaged as the principal, the accomplice, or the perpetrator in felony. So I'm just going to go ahead and define those three things, because it's important. The principal is a person who's the actor or the perpetrator in a crime. The accomplice is someone who knowingly and intentionally helps, encourages, or participates in a crime, even if they never knew to commit the actual crime, if they never committed the actual crime themselves. That's important to know. And the perpetration of a felony. Please listen to this. The act of the defendant engaging in or being an accomplice in the commission of an attempt to commit or flight after committing robbery, rape, arson, burglary, or kidnapping. Those are the underlying felonies. So I'm going to ask these two brothers, first of all, I didn't ask y'all how y'all feel to be free. I want to ask y'all that, because we home now, and we have families, we have jobs, we had events. I call y'all, I could barely get with y'all. I had to like, yo, I'm put you on, I got a Rolodex, you know. So it was we busy in a good way, because God gave us the opportunity. We're now vessels. So I want to start off with asking, how do you feel? Let's start off with that.
My life every day, man, that I'm out here is, and I say this to people all the time who ask me this, my life is one of grace and mercy, so I'm always under that. So how I feel grateful, right, that mercy has been given to me. I've been given a second chance to be out here, and I'm forever thankful for that. Like, I never go a day without acknowledging that, and I never will.
Same question to you. How you feel to be free, y'all?
I'm always feeling great. Life is always good for me. I was asked a question a couple days ago when I did a talk, and they asked me, how could you seem so happy? I would be angry. I would really be angry if that happened to me. But the thing is, first of all, anger should never ever be confused with hurt and pain. Ever. For a long time I was hurt. For a long time I was in pain. But I never ever, even inside, spent the entire day angry. Because when you're angry, it takes a lot of intent. Which I try to tell everybody that. It takes a lot of intent to be angry. Because your brain, while out here, computes a lot of things at a lot of different times, right? And your brain may be on something that you see, and you're focused on it, and you're taking it in your mind, and you're taking in the colors, and you're taking in what it smells like, and because you're home, and everything is new. But to be angry, you would have to intentionally ignore all of that and tell yourself to be mad, to be angry. And so, I'm always happy. And I'm happy now. I'm glad to be here.
I want to go straight to the case spotlight. We have an individual's name is Derek Lee. I spoke to him this morning. I have an actual recording of the brother. I wanted to kind of put some audio to the actual case. It's distorted, but he wanted to make sure that everybody that was tuned in, everybody that was in the room, that he appreciates the support, he appreciates the love, he appreciates that his name is attached to changing something that could change the life for 1,000 individuals on the inside, but also 1,000 families and 1,000 communities, because they're gonna come out strong and they're gonna go ahead and continue to do the work that we're doing out in the communities right now. So right now, Pennsylvania's Supreme Court is considering a case called Derek Lee, as I outlined. This is a second-degree felony murder case, and the case is still pending. At the heart of this case, it's a critical question. Is it constitutional to sentence someone to a mandatory without parole for felony murder if they did not kill, intend to kill, or knew somebody would kill? Mr. Lee is serving life without parole under Pennsylvania's law solely because death occurred during the commission of a felony. The sentence was automatic. There was no consideration on intent, his role, or individual circumstance, and that's what's so jacked up about that about that law. The court heard oral arguments on October 8th, 2024, and its decision could impact more than 1,000 people. There's somebody in the audience right now that I'm going to put on the spot. She's going to go ahead and give you the best insight you could possibly get from this case, because she's on the front line as well. And she came into the institution while I was still on the inside and had a second-degree legal committee type of gathering just to bring awareness to it. And the way she explained it was so perfect. She gave me new ideas and new hope on the actual case itself. So Celeste, please, if you don't mind, can you come up here and sit down? I'm gonna sit beside you. Miss Celeste Trustin.
Freedom fighter, y'all.
Well, thanks. I'm gonna do some back support, yeah.
So please,
I'm teasing, it's fine.
please give us the insight. Please give us your knowledge. First of all, I want you to introduce yourself. I know who you are.
Yeah.
This is a person that fights against families against mandatory minimum. She's on the front line, policy director. She does so much. There's so many different titles. I'm not going into that, Celeste. You have to do that yourself. But I am happy to see her on our side. She fought tirelessly for me. She played a part in me being there. And I need you to explain this Derek Lee situation.
Sure can. So I'm just Celeste. So Rob, you really did a good job of explaining exactly what is being challenged in the state Supreme Court right now about second-degree felony murder in the Lee case. What's interesting is at the same time as the court is considering this case, there's also legislation before the state Senate and the state House that could change the law even without the Supreme Court, right? They could do this without waiting for the Supreme Court, but they likely will wait to be told what to do by the court since they are considering it. So there's, in both bills, the goal is to eliminate the mandatory life without parole aspect of the sentence for second-degree felony murder. It makes absolutely no sense to, one of the justices said, so basically we're double dipping punishment here, right? The idea is if someone knowingly commits a felony, that's very different, right? Charging them for a felony than charging them for an associated murder that they had nothing to do with, didn't even know about, sometimes were not even there. But we have more than 1,100 people who are literally dying in prison unless this law changes or unless something spectacular happens, right? Your situation is spectacular, right? It's spectacular that you're all here because, like you said, it is like a lottery. It is like getting struck by lightning to be able to get out, right, once you're in. So what we can all do right now while we're waiting patiently, I will say patience is not my strong suit, but we are patiently waiting for the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court ruling, is you can actually reach out to your state lawmakers and let them know that you support changing this ridiculous law, and you want them to support it too. This should not be a partisan issue. This should not be about Democrat, Republican, whatever party you're from. This should be about humanity, justice, and fairness. if we all want a system that looks more like justice, it doesn't seem like justice to force someone to die in prison when that was not what was committed, right? That wasn't the situation. I don't think it's justice to force anyone to die in prison in general. However, that's what we're talking about today is the felony murder situation. And so our state lawmakers could make a difference. They could take these bills up tomorrow, right? They could do something about this. And so the more they hear from their constituents, the better. The House bill, which is HB 443, the House bill eliminates the mandatory life without parole component, which is incredible. And it allows parole eligibility after 25 years. Now, 25 years is still an extremely long time. I can't even imagine 25 years.
Don't.
Right. But this would allow opportunities for people to seek parole when and right now they simply just can't, right? Unless you get out through clemency, which is very rare. So a law change, what we hope is that will happen is that the law will apply retroactively as well, so the people who are currently serving those sentences will have the opportunity to seek relief. There are folks who only want it to be prospective, which means that anyone who would be sentenced from now on, or when the law would be effective on, to be able to get that relief. Saying that the people who were already sentenced and already serving the mandatory life without parole sentence, that's what they were sentenced to, and they should have to serve that sentence. But I think if it's justice today to allow parole eligibility, it should be justice last year and the year before. And so everybody should be able to access this form of relief. So we're very, very hopeful that the state Supreme Court will rule in Mr. Lee's favor and really force the legislature to take action and change this statute, because there are so many people who deserve to be in this room right now who cannot be in this room right now because our legislature will not take action. As you said, this was argued back in the fall, almost a year and a half ago at this point. And so we really are patiently waiting, but we are so ready. When that decision comes down, we are so ready to take action. We are at the Capitol all the time. People know why we're there, right? And we are just not going to stop. We were so lucky that we were able to get a medical release bill passed through the House. Didn't go through the Senate, but it went through the House. There's a sign, right, that the legislature is starting to understand that people like you, as exceptional as I think you are, because you're my friends, you're not exceptional, right? There are so many people that you left behind who are probably just as good, if not better, right? It's the truth. I know you're all better than I am. When you're talking about not being angry, I swear I would flip a table every minute of every day, right? I always say people like you are better than I am, right? And so I can't wait to be able to welcome all the other folks home and we can get these bills passed and get to the governor's desk and we can get more people home. Thanks, Rob.
Celeste, thank you. That's Celeste Trusty, y'all.
Thanks, Celeste. And I just want to add that one of the reasons why it is important to get to the legislators is because us coming together really doesn't affect which way the judge will swing the gavel. It really doesn't. But it would enable the judge to make a decision, right, that it doesn't look like it's so radical, right? And it can look like it's the judge is taking a more broader approach to societal problems.
I want to give you a scenario of how crazy felony murder is. So let's say somebody runs in a bank and he robs the bank teller. And as he's running out, he trips and falls and a gun goes off and shoots somebody across the street and somebody dies. Now, if you're looking for me to say that the man shouldn't have went to jail For robbing the bank, you're not gonna get me, you're not gonna hear me say that. He should have went to jail for robbing that bank, which will probably give him about 5 to 10 years in prison. Should he get some time for somebody actually dying for his goofy act? Absolutely. They have something called third-degree murder for that, and that does not carry a mandatory life sentence. So if we're talking about him getting 5 years for the robbery, we're talking him getting 20 years for actual somebody losing their life, and I want to get something clear, because I don't want you to think that we have 3 individuals here who were exonerated for crimes that we were accused of being murderers, and now we're here today. We just are fighting so hard against the system, we don't understand that life is the most precious thing you have on earth. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying our fundamental laws, our fundamental principles of justice are you sentence a person accordingly to their act in the actual crime. You can't have a person go out and commit a crime and not be prosecuted. That's not what we're sitting up here saying. We're saying you sentence a person accordingly to what they do in a crime, and that's not what felony murder does. Felony murder locks you in. You don't have to actually know a murder is about to occur. We all know a brother's name, his last name's Cotto. He has 2 to 3 co-defendants. They get outside a car, they go rob and kill somebody. They jump back in the car, they tell him, he's like, what do you want me to do? Go drop me off. This man is serving life without the possibility of parole because he was fleeing with them. This is what we're talking about. This is how crazy this law is. And we were all 3 of us right here were serving, and his brothers in his audience also was serving felony murder as well. But I got a couple questions, man, for Jay, and I got a couple questions for y'all. So I'm gonna start with you, Jay. When you first learned your sentence was being commuted, did you feel like it was justice, or more like relief mixed with uncertainty?
I'm gonna answer, it's a 2-part question, so I'm gonna answer the latter first. I was overwhelmed with relief without question. When I filed for commutation, it was really I took a shot at it, right? Because so many people were saying that it didn't work, they're not going to commute nobody. So I said, listen, in order for me to understand what that process is, I need to go through it myself. So fortunately for me, I was granted commutation. I was overwhelmingly relieved, right? And really shocked, because I was in fear of the man who was now the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, because he was known to be very unpredictable. But I got it, right? Gratefully, I got it. My biggest fear was homelessness. That overwhelmed me. Even though in that moment it was exuberant, I was happy. But then, like I say, milliseconds of me crying and all that, immediately I thought about where I'm gonna live, because I almost spent 40 years of my life in prison. So where am I going to go? Because my primary family, most of them were gone, so there was no real safety net or support system. Yeah, I had family members who carried my last name, but they didn't know me. So that was like the biggest mental hurdle for me. What do I do now? I'm getting out, but where am I going to go?
I think that's what these are the things that we go through mentally on this inside to get to this point today. Like, we live our lives in 24-hour increments where we're just trying to get through the day. And those are hurdles that I think we all know we had to face, but God's provided. God provides for the birds. They don't ever got to go buy nothing. So I think that God's going to continue to provide for us, because we're sitting there, we're out here, we're doing the work, we're God-fearing, we're good men. We damn sure ain't committing no more crimes, And that's another thing. If we go and commit a crime, we're on the 6 o'clock news. But since we're out here, we're doing the right thing, and we're doing everything in our power, not only for ourselves, but our families and our communities. That can't make no pages. But it's cool, because this is why we do what we do. Y'all got a question for me.
I just wanted to address this point, right? Because that's something that you hear all the time, right? People use that phrase, the right thing, like doing the right thing. For me, for these men here, like my trip to prison was a very isolated moment in my life. Like I was never, a criminal, the way they say that word. It was a very reckless and impulsive thought, but it wasn't nothing that was like planned. Somebody just asked me something, I kept like ducking to get away from it. So like, I got a job, I don't need to do nothing. So this thing that you see on the news when you see these prisons filled up with people like us, most of those men and women, it was a very isolated moment in their life. And because of that, a decision was made that we should spend the rest of our lives in prison. Not to be given a second chance, not to be rehabilitated, but to be banished from society. So just keep that in mind. It's a lot of good people in prison. They just make an incredibly reckless decision in less than a millisecond, and it costs them everything.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, for you, I seen the work you put in. I seen the work G put in that law library. Days that I even, it was times I had softball games, like, yeah, we got a good game tonight. You're like, Rob, I can't make it. I'm fighting for my life here. So what did it take emotionally and mentally to keep fighting when the system as a whole told you, case closed?
First, I do like to say, although like today we see a lot of people who have had a death by incarceration sentence and they're home now, they're coming home. That's only because the legal climate changes every so often. But most of the people who have come home spent 20 plus years in prison. So it's not easy. And so when I first got my life sentence, I can remember some of the old heads, they were saying, oh, that's all right, don't worry about it, you get that back. You get that right back. And I kind of like took that in stride, and I thought that I could give it right back. So I go to the law library and I find the case, and I just knew all I had to do was put this in there and I'm going home. But that wasn't the case. And I had to realize that the same people who were telling me, oh, you get that back, you get that back, they had 30 years in trying to get that back. Right? I didn't even realize that. And so when I went to an old head, and I could remember getting my court opinion, and I went to him and I said, look, but they lying. This is not even what happened. I said, but they lying. This is not the truth. He said, yeah, that's what they do. I said, but you didn't tell me that. You told me I could give it back. And so I had to learn how to kind of like separate my emotions about the thing from just the straight out mental process of fighting. And no matter how hard it gets, you have to fight. And don't you know how you ever see these clips on Instagram and all that, and a person, they're in a fight, and a person get knocked out. They might be standing up or they may be laying down. They be knocked out, but they still be swinging. A lot of times I was out on my feet, but I was putting that work in. And that's what it takes mentally. That's what it takes mentally. You have to separate how it feels. You have to almost become robotic. And it's not an easy thing, because then sometimes you have to some degree, allow yourself to feel the pain so you won't be robotic. And so it's a toss-up.
I appreciate that. I'm going to go back to you, Jay. Since you were commuted, I thought about this sentence this question long and hard, and you brought it up in one of our conversations, and I want you to explain what conditions were placed on your life still today that make you feel like you're still serving a life sentence.
When you get community, you have what I call a perpetual noose around your neck.
Absolutely.
Because you have, for
Introduce.
the remainder of your life, you're on parole. So I served 35 years inside prison. So the remainder of my physical life out here, I am at the whim and the decision of people who don't even know me. I'm just a file. They don't know Gregory Stowe. They've never talked to me. They've never done any deep dive into my family. They've never sat with me and asked me, what was that moment like when I made that decision and caused all that pain, right? So for me, I think it's incredibly, I think it's disingenuous, sincere, being honest, that you knew when you prosecuted me, I never killed that man. You knew that. But you didn't care, so you went ahead and did it. So now, fast forward, you're still prosecuting, even though you know I didn't kill anybody. So for the remainder of my life, my physical life, I'm on parole.
Thank you for that. We got something that I need to share. We got somebody that was just released. Celeste is going to explain who this person is. We have her on the line. It's a blessing that she's home, and we want to welcome her home.
So this is just a random coincidence, but perhaps the best coincidence. My sweet friend Michi, who, Marie Scott, yes, please. She served over 50 years of a life without parole sentence. And she has been home for, I'll let her tell you, about a week now. And she just wanted to say hi, because she just so happened to call me at the same time as we were here. So, all right, Michi, you gotta speak up real loud, okay? Can people hear? I don't know.
We'll try. Speak up.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
How's everybody doing?
We're blessed.
I'm right now, and I can't express to all of you my gratitude for all the support and help you've given me throughout this ordeal to be released from prison and put in the sky free. I'm telling you, I'm speechless. I just can't wait to meet all of you in person and kiss all of your hands. I'm just so grateful to all of you.
We all want to welcome you home. God bless you. You're gonna meet us all, and if there's anything that we can do from our end, please reach out to Celeste, and we're gonna go ahead and make this happen. But once again, we just want to welcome you home, and God bless you.
God bless all of you too. Thank you.
52 years. Did you hear that woman on the phone? They wanted to go ahead and keep that woman in prison until she died. They wanted to keep her in prison until she died. This is what we're working with. I want to go back to Yaya. What role did your legal knowledge, your jailhouse lawyering, and community support, and support around you inside, that got you to the point that you ultimately saved your own life? I mean, we're going to praise the God first, but this man went home.
Wow. So, learning the law is indispensable when it comes to fighting for your life. You have to learn. People have to get in that law library, because you can't depend on, sometimes you can't depend on lawyers. Sometimes, you put in a petition, you get a felony letter. For people who don't know, a felony letter is a letter where your court-appointed attorney or somebody tells you that you don't have any issues left to even bother to fight your appeal. So it's vital. It's vital to learn the law, and it's vital to have support, because sometimes
So,
when you're inside and you don't have that support, and family support, it can wear on you. It really will wear on you. And I've seen people hang themselves. I'm seeing a whole lot of different things. So all of that matters. The fight to get free can't be done alone. It is a fight that you need support, you need family, you need community. And without it, it will not happen. It will not happen, because you need people to be your voice. You need people on the outside to be your voice. If you don't have that, it's going to be a hard, long, daunting fight. And so it mattered that I was able to learn the law and explain it to my supporters, and then my supporters was able to go to the attorneys and things like this. And all of that stuff matters. But if you don't know anything, it's not too much that's going to happen for your life.
that go back to what we was talking about as far as education is key. For many years, my family supported me the best way they knew how. They were not going to go in the law library. They were not tapping on legal sites. They wanted to fill my cabinet up with food. They wanted to make sure that I had visits. They wanted to make sure that they birthed me. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't do what we're doing here today, and that's educate ourselves on exactly what's going on in society as a whole, and what are we doing? I want to go back to you, Jay. If your commutation had never come, because that could have been the case, if your commutation had never come, do you believe that you would have died in prison?
For me, and I'm gonna go back to what I said initially, right? Grace and mercy is my life. And I purpose it this way to answer this question. When the jury found me guilty, you go back or whatever. So when the judge called me down to be sentenced, when he asked me to stand so he can pronounce judgment on me, I never heard what he said. That grace and mercy covered my ear, so I never heard him. So his words never penetrated my spirit, so I never accepted what he said. Now, I've watched people who were in my situation, went up before me to get sentenced. And when they came back down, I could see that all their life was gone out of them, because they not only heard what he said, but they internalized what he said. So for me, the entire time that I was inside these various places, I was fortunate enough to find myself around like-minded men like these. So even though all of us didn't know what the hell we was doing, we was trying to figure it out, right? So I think that drive to get home never allowed me. I think thinking in that term is a luxury, right? Thinking about death, that's a luxury. I ain't had time to think about death. I wanted to get out. So I was constantly in education mode and fight mode to figure out what I didn't know. And another thing that they do as a disservice to us, our families, your families, is when we go in these places as young men, young women, they expect us to learn every law book in that place in a year, and then be able to articulate that back to a judge. First of all, 99% of us are illiterate when we go to prison, right? We don't know anything. And like in Yaya's case, his co-defendant was extremely illiterate, but yet they found him competent enough to go to trial. See, this is the disservice, but go back to this point. I never thought about that. I never thought about dying in prison. That was just, again, for me, that was a luxury to do that. I didn't have time to think about dying. I just knew I wanted to get out. So again, I found myself aligned with men like these. And all we did every day was push each other, encourage each other, and talk about where we are now. We walked the yards, envisioning being on the other side. And that kept us motivated. We didn't have time to sit around thinking about that. We saw death in prison. We saw men, like y'all said, who were there 30 and 40 years, and they died. But I never saw myself in that position. I saw myself where I am today.
I want to say something, and y'all, I want to ask you the same question, but I want to say something about that belief and hope. Being in Greater for so many years, we're encased in these walls, so the only way that you can actually see anything that's alive is to look up. I would hurt my neck in the yard sometimes looking up, because I wanted to see the world. Then when I got over SCI Phoenix, we had gates. So I'm looking out, I'm looking for a deer. I'm looking for anything that's wildlife oriented, right? A cat, anything, you know, we're fought, like, when I was up Smithfield, I remember they had cats on the back dock because they was going at the trash. I just wanted to see a cat. So when I would go to the yard, people would ask me, when you go to the yard, the actual benches and tables are positioned where they're like around the fence, but everybody kind of sits in facing the jail because that's our reality. So you're watching people bending the track, you're watching people cop ice cream, you're watching people work out. But people would ask me, why would my back be to them and why I would always face the fence if there was nothing to see? I seen freedom, I seen life, I seen God, I seen opportunity, I seen fight, I seen family, I heard motorcycles, I heard cars, I seen birds. It rained on me out there. So that fight, man, that goes into being there today, man, it's on all levels, man. So I want to ask you the same thing, Quad, I just said Quadir. Shout out to Quadir. Another man who overturned his conviction is out. Did you ever believe, y'all, that you would die in prison?
I never believed that I would die in prison, but the reality is present. You know, you see that reality when you look up the block and you see the old fella who used to be strong and lift all the weights in the jail, and now he's in a wheelchair, he can't move. That's the reality. So whether or not the reality is in the front of your head or in the back of your mind, that's your reality. But you push it to the side and you keep moving. I never thought, I hoped, I prayed that I wouldn't. And then when you hope and you pray, the other part of that is belief. The other part of that is belief, or else is our fruitless. And so I never believed that I would die in prison. And so I made sure that I did everything I needed to do so I wouldn't.
For the people that are tuned in, for the people in the room, like, why are you asking somebody do they would believe that they would die in prison? Because we were watching people die in prison. You got a brother named Bruce Norris, may he rest in peace. I watched this brother get commuted. It was during COVID. He screamed over to us. We're all locked in 23 hours a day, was 24 at the time. People were contracting COVID. I'm telling my cellie at the time not to open up the slot to bring the food in because I don't want you touching a tray that might come inside the cell. Commissary's not coming on the block because the guards don't want to bring the commissary to our cells, so we don't have food. But it was some sacrifices we were taking. And in the background, I hear Bruce Norris screaming out of cell that he's been commuted. And the only thing was holding that man from dying with dignity, coming home, being with his family, and finally, ultimately dying with dignity, was a signature by the governor at the time. They drug the signature out, and this man contracted COVID, and unfortunately, this man lost his life. Those are the realities of prison. I got another question for you, man, and it's important because you actually work for an organization that actually fights for people's lives, the Innocent Project, and I want you to explain a little bit about what you do. And also, I'm proud of you. To come home and land a position such as that, you're fighting for people's lives, y'all. I think we all have experienced a level of success. I'm just coming home. This is successful for me. I ain't getting a penny for this. This is successful for me because I'm able to get this out to the masses. I'm able to go ahead and do what I possibly do until I get the bag. To go ahead and get somebody some lawyers. But with you, y'all, man, how did you begin to rebuild trust in a legal system that once erased your future? You're now working for the Innocent Project. So I want you to go ahead and explain what you do for them, and also the question is, how do you begin to rebuild trust in a legal system that once erased your future?
I believe we're building the trust now. This is the trust. Having these conversations, communicating with each other, informing each other about different things. This is the trust. The system will not correct itself. The people will have to correct the system. It's just that simple. It is just that simple. So trusting in the people will understand, will get it right, will do better. And then if the people do it better, the system will be better.
Appreciate you, guys. I want to go back to this Derek Lee decision. We got maybe about 10 more minutes, 15 at the most. But thank you for people for being patient, coming out, supporting us, people tuning in. This is a serious matter. People are dying on the inside, so we appreciate your support. When you hear that the Derek Lee case is challenging the punishment, not the conviction itself, how does that resonate with your own experience of fighting for a sentence that lowered your intent, your role, and also your individual circumstance?
Wow, well, it was twofold, right? I'm innocent, so my innocence is a different situation from fighting a sentence. But although I'm innocent, because my co-defendant was a juvenile, and he could not read and he could not write, and they had announced a juvenile issue where they had announced that a juvenile is less culpable for their crimes. And so if I was charged with intent and this juvenile who admitted to doing the crime, I'm always wondering, and I challenge the court in saying, well, how can you transfer some intent to me from somebody or from someone who never had any intent at all? What are you transferring to me then? How am I responsible for something that he never had? And so I was challenging the court, and many people was challenging the courts on that issue. And so when I heard that the issue was finally before the Supreme Court, I felt that it was time. And I still feel like it may happen. You know, I feel like it may happen, and I'm hoping that it happens. But it was a little bit of vindication, a little bit, knowing that the argument that I was put forth was correct.
Appreciate that, yeah. Questions for you, Jay. Knowing that mandatory life without parole leaves no room for mercy or growth, how does your journey from sentence to commutation inform what you believe the court should consider when deciding this Derek Lee case?
Well, it's written in the law already for the court and what they should decide, right? Intent is everything. So if you know you know, right? Initially, when they arrest us, they do their little preliminary investigation, but by the time you get to trial, you know what you know. So, in this particular case, this Derek Lee case, if the intent was only to commit an underlying felony, to rob somebody, hold you accountable for your intent to rob. Don't charge you with no murder, because you clearly had no intent to kill anybody. You've already discovered that by the time you go to trial. So I think that if anything comes out of this, hopefully, those who will make the final decision, they will base their decision just on what the law requires. What was this person's intent that day? We cannot excuse the fact that somebody was killed, but what was his intent? Did he intend to kill somebody? No, so if he didn't intend to kill anybody, then charge him with the underlying thought. My thought was, I'm a ride for his watch. But in the course of that, he's gonna struggle with me, he's gonna fall in his head and then he dies. Okay, but I never intended to kill him. So, you know, I'm hopeful, like sincerely, I'm hopeful that this Derek Lee decision is favorable because I grew up in prison. I grew up in prison with a lot of young men just like me. And like what Celeste said earlier, there are some exceptional men and women in those prison spaces that will do tremendous work to add to the value of not just their community, but society as a whole. But as it stands now, we don't know. And we're just hoping. And this is why we came out today to support. Why? Because we're the rule. We are the rule. We're not the exception. The people that's in prison waiting to get out, they're just like me. And that's why for me, I was honored when he asked me, because to lend my voice and my face to those in power who may see this, the people that's waiting on the decision are just like me. So if you can do it for me, you can do it for them.
And I just want the people to know that in this Derek Lee case, the issue is not that they're challenging the sentencing per se, but they're challenging the sentencing practice. The mandatory nature of a life sentence, death by incarceration, if you get found guilty, that is what they're challenging. The mandatory nature of it, and by it being mandatory, it forecloses on a judge to consider the fact that a person was not the shooter, or was asleep in a car, or didn't do the actual thing. And so, I just want people to really know that.
Before we close out, I want to do a recap. Get involved, get informed, educate yourself. Derek Lee, State Supreme Court. Find out what's going on. We also have a petition. His name's Matt Garcia. He has a petition on change.org. Get your names on there. Scroll by it. You're going to be scrolling. You're scrolling now on another phone. You probably got 2 phones. Tap in. Support those. I think it's important that we continue to do this. I want to thank everybody that came out tonight. I want to thank everybody in this room. I want to thank the people that are watching. Everybody's tuning in to LWAP Radio. Continue to tune in. We're on all major platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. I want to thank Yaya. I want to thank Jay. I want to thank Swab. I want to thank for having this opportunity, get this opportunity to go ahead and do this. I want to go ahead and ask you one question, man, before we leave. And if you could say anything to the individuals that we can hopefully get this out of the jails, because they need to get this education in the jails, right? If there's anything you can say to those individuals, brothers and sisters that are waiting on their pending litigation, or if they're waiting on this legislative issue, what would you go ahead and say to them? don't get a write-up. Somebody said don't get a write-up, that's true.
Somebody said don't get a write-up. No, but I'm gonna say hold on. There's people that's out here. We gathering. We talking. We're trying to speak to people that matter, and we fighting for y'all. We fighting for y'all.
Same question, Jay. If you could talk to them individuals on the inside that just want to hear something inspirational.